The Mamba mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Rain, sleet, or snow, I grind. I am the difference maker. I am the game changer.
Ladies and gentlemen, how we doing? How we living? Alex just pieced out on us real quickly, but now he is back, which is good to see. We have a little bit different of a crew here for the Game Changer show on this beautiful Wednesday. At least it's beautiful up here in Northern Indiana. I don't know where you guys are at, but we have Michael and Alex, new to the show, but not new to TWSN. Welcome, fellas. Welcome. How we doing?
Cody, Alex, great to be on with you guys. I just want to say thank you to Malik and also thank you to you, Cody, as well, letting me hop on. It's great here in New Jersey. Alex, how about yourself, my man?
It's going good. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it at first. Had a couple work complications, so that's why I'm going to look like a woolly booger throughout this entire podcast. I got the deep V-neck, I don't know what you would call this, Hawaiian shirt, and I'm ready to roll, baby.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's
beautiful. And we have a absolutely packed show. We were running through the list of kind of like things that we were going to talk about today, and man, is it long. It's long. I mean, it's been a big sports week. So, fellas, let's start off with the most electric sport on here, golf. Gotta love it. Jon Rahm, out of all there were a lot of people that really just like biffed it at the end of the U.S. Open, and Jon Rahm made some incredibly clutch putts. Dude looked great. I am super excited for him to win this, especially after his tournament last weekend where he was maybe not last weekend, it's 2 weeks ago. They told him he had COVID and they had to pull him out with a 4-stroke lead. So did you guys get to watch the U.S. Open at all? Like what are we thinking?
Cody, I got to watch it and I was thoroughly impressed with how Jon Rahm was able to get through adversity. So many times in sports, when somebody struggles, it's hard for them to rebound. But Jon Rahm, like you said, the 4-stroke leader at the Memorial the weekend prior, he went into the U.S. Open and he showed why Torrey Pines is his place. And he has been dominant there, won there in 2017, showed out last weekend. There is one thing I want to say in regards to the whole debacle at the Memorial. Something has to change systematically when it comes to delivering COVID results. I understand it's not easy on the laboratories to get the results back in a timely manner. But first off, it's risky having someone out there who's possibly positive for COVID out on the golf course, infecting people possibly. And then when he's in the lead, you take him out. Not only do you take him out when he has the lead, but he's closing in on a $1.7 million purse. That's a lot of money to lose out on. And if I was Jon Rahm, I would be hot under the collar if that happened to me. But so I say all that to say something needs to change where you cannot allow anyone to golf before the results are there. I think that has to change. But nonetheless, Jon Rahm stepped up to the plate. Just when everyone thought that would be a momentum killer, what happened at the Memorial, he fixed it, and he performed at the highest level at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and it's really awesome to see a guy like missing out on, like I get upset when I wash like my jeans and I had a $10 bill in there and it like destroys it and you're like, I'm out $10. Like to lose a $1.7 million purse is a big, big deal. And then we had a little Bryson DeChambeau meltdown too at the end. I'd love to hate the guy. Like he's a guy that like is really polarizing in the golf community. I can't stand him just because I think he is a little arrogant, but it is what it is. But it was a good U.S. Open. Torrey Pines, beautiful course. I think it was the first time that it has held the U.S. Open since Tiger Woods played on it with a broken leg and a torn ACL. So a lot of memorable tournaments at that course. But let's move on to some NBA. because I know that it is on the forefront of everybody's minds. We got a game tonight in Hawks. We have a game tonight in Hawks Bucks that's incredible, but we get to show a little comment here. Alex dressed like Tyson Fury. Alex, do you want to address the CEO's comments?
Yes, I take that as a huge compliment. Tyson Fury is a man with great style. I actually would model my style after Tyson Fury.
Oh, it's beautiful. You built differently, I would say. You two had a little different
right,
builds.
Yeah, a little different. But it works for all builds. So next time I need to see you two dressing like this.
Oh, Alex, I want to say you're in much better shape than Tyson Fury. Much better looking. Not that Tyson Fury's a bad looking man, but I think the Versace definitely helps Tyson Fury. But you don't need it. You're terrific.
Appreciate that.
Love it, guys. So, Alex, just for you, next show I will rock a beautiful Hawaiian shirt just for you. It's going to be beautiful.
Well,
but we're going to move on to the NBA. Suns Clippers game last night was absolutely electric. The ending, the lob, that is a play that you design from the high school to college and NBA level, and it's like a 1 in 20 shot that it works, but it's a desperation that you had 0.7 seconds left. That is going to be a highlight that's going to be played for a long time. What are your guys' thoughts on the game?
I love the game. It was one of the best games of these entire playoffs that have given us a ton of good games. I was sitting in front of my TV, jaw dropping every 5 seconds. I think the Suns really have something, and I think they're gonna. We'll get into the finals predictions later, but I think the Suns are an extremely scary team. They're playing great team basketball all the way around. There's really not a weak link to exploit on that team.
Yeah, I love the way they space the floor, and I really think it's allowed Ayton to show how good he is in this playoffs. And man, that play was crazy. And then you got Booker with the busted nose. I mean, Michael, you cover all the UFC stuff, and to see a guy get busted in the chops and go out and play a good basketball game is something, more or less, to do it in the playoffs. So it's been exciting, man. It's been exciting. I can't wait for the game 3. We'll take it back to LA. Do we think that the Suns in 4, is Suns in 4 just a thing now that they're going to continue to sweep, or what are our thoughts here?
No. I hope so because I DM'd the guy, Suns in 4 guy, and I told him, hey man, the Suns aren't even my team, but I love you for that. And I did not get a DM back. I think he's he's a big shot now. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Suns this entire playoffs because of Suns in 4 guy.
I love it. But Michael, you don't think that's a shot?
No. Do I think the Los Angeles Clippers are going to come back from their 2-0 deficit and win like they did the previous 2 series? Absolutely not. But I think they're going to get one, and I think one of their wins are going to come at home because they did the same thing against Utah. If you remember, the series went back to LA. They won game 3, and they won the rest of the games after that. So I don't think the Clippers are going to win this series because not only are the Suns getting back a great player in Chris Paul, but they're getting back arguably a top 5 all-time point guard in Chris Paul. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but that's how I feel. Chris Paul is that good even at this late of a stage in his career. And Cameron Payne, let's give some credit to that guy.
What a game.
29 points, 9 assists, and he even said it in the post-game interview. He said, I'm here in relief. I'm just filling in for Chris Paul. Once he gets back, it's his job. And that's great. That just goes to show how much of a team player Cameron Payne is. And I'm here to tell you, the Clippers may get a win at home, but Chris Paul, he's coming out with a vengeance.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chris Paul. I think he's I would agree, top 5 point guard in the history of the NBA. I mean, point God, you got to love it. Did get crossed up by Steph pretty badly a couple years ago. So that's a tough scene. But yeah, I don't know how I feel because I'm a big Paul George hater, but also I think they could steal a couple and trade the man kid. Trey Man? Is it Trey Man? Terrence Mann. He has been on a tear too. Absolutely in fuego with that 3 ball. So it's going to be an exciting series, but I think it's going to be closer to Suns in 4 than it is Suns in 7. We'll see if they go 5-6 games. We'll see. But we have an exciting game tonight. But in order to get to the games tonight, because it is Bucks Hawks, we got to talk about that Hawks Sixers meltdown. You've seen all the memes on the internet, right? The Ben Simmons building a house of bricks. You have the absolute meltdown of the 76ers, the ice cold Trae Young. I know Hawks fans have been absolutely insufferable on the internet, but they have the right to be because they won and they are now in the Eastern Conference Finals. Where does the process go from here? I'm out. I'm out on the process. If this was Shark Tank, I'm done.
Yeah. The thing is, I picked the 76ers to go to the finals this year. I thought that it was all going to click. I thought it was all going to work. But I am seeing a little bit too much hate on Ben Simmons. I tweeted this out earlier. Look, I get the guy was disappointing. And, he had awful playoff performances. But I think with Ben Simmons, it's more between his ears. It's in his head than it is his actual play on the court. I think if you can get someone to really get into Ben Simmons' head and, make him feel, I don't know if he has lost the love for it, if he doesn't have motivation. I don't know or he's just scared. He's like seeing ghosts out there. Everyone has seen the stat line of his attempted shots in the fourth quarter. He gets smaller in a moment, but I think when Ben Simmons can fix that, get better at his shooting, get better free throws, and be able to elevate himself in that moment, he can go somewhere else and be a good player for some team. For the 76ers, no, I think he's done there. I think he'll be going somewhere else. And will he be able to be good at his next destination? I think that depends on where he goes. As far as the process, they need to look for a new star.
Yeah, I mean, the team is built around Embiid, right? That's their guy, and rightfully so. I think Matisse Thybulle is going to be a good young piece for them for the next couple of years, but I just don't know what you get back from Simmons at this point, right? Like if you were going to trade him, you needed to trade him either before the All-Star break or at the beginning of the season. Right now, his value is at an all-time low, so it's going to be tough to move on. I'm just not sure how I feel about how that franchise is headed. Because they're kind of in a split road, right? Like they either need to build with what they got or they need to kind of sell shop, change a couple things up. I don't know how their salary situation is. And I know On the Ball podcast is probably going to cover that in depth because they do some great NBA work here at TWSN on the YouTube. So yeah, it's something that like is definitely going to be a big talking point of the offseason because the NBA always has several. Ben Simmons is that poor dude might want to stay off the internet for a while because it's going to be tough. And speaking of teams that have to figure it out, right? So the Bucks beat the Nets. They had KD, they had Harden, they have Kyrie. They were the favorites to win the finals. Is that broken or injuries, tough luck, bad matchup? Is that to blame for the early exit?
Hold on, Alex. I'll just say this. If these three are healthy next year, the Brooklyn Nets are going to win the NBA Finals. That's what's going to happen because if they were all healthy for the playoffs, they would have won it all. And I think a lot of people thought, started coming into May, the finals are going to be Lakers, Nets. I don't think the Lakers are going to get there next year, but I think the Nets will because if you look at the East, who else is there to compete with the Brooklyn Nets? Seriously, in terms of stopping them from getting to the finals. Not the Sixers, not the Bucks, maybe the Bucks. And that's about it. Other than that, who else is stopping the Nets from getting there? Barring injuries. That's the most important thing. Barring injuries. Because when it comes to all the big threes dating back to 2008 in Boston, I don't think there is any other big three that is more talented than this one in Brooklyn. That's why, Alex, I don't see anyone else taking them down because Kevin Durant might be the greatest pure scorer in NBA history. Kyrie Irving has arguably the greatest handles in the last 25 years other than Rod Strickland. And James Harden, when he's healthy and he's motivated, he knows how to score as well. So I don't think anyone can take down the Brooklyn Nets in the East.
I disagree with you, but it's for one reason we disagree. I think if the Nets were going to win it, this was their year to win it. The Lakers had their injury problems. They had their issues and went out first round. I have full confidence in the Lakers and the GM that LeBron is to figure it out and get that team back together healthy. And I don't think that the Nets can beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. Can they win the East? Sure, maybe. But what happens when they have to face a full, healthy, revamped Lakers in the finals? I'm taking the Lakers all day with that.
I don't know.
Alex, I'm glad you recognize that LeBron is actually the GM of that team, because he 100% is. The thing that worries me about the Nets is I understand that core, like Kyrie, Durant, Harden is still going to be back. Joe Harris is still going to be back. Spencer Dinwiddie's a free agent. They have DeAndre Jordan is under contract for the next 2 years. He needs to be gone. They need to ship him off to get some sort of cap relief to allow them to have a little flexibility, because they have Jeff Green gone, Tyler Johnson gone, Bruce Brown, who had a decent playoffs, gone, Blake Griffin, who was like actually very imperative to their success so far, gone. So they're going to have a lot of pieces that are going to be shipped out. It'll be interesting to see if they can bring those guys back. Maybe Blake Griffin takes a little bit of a discount since he's on a championship contending team, but it's something to watch. It reminds me, and I hate to say this because I hate comparing people to LeBron, but this kind of reminds me of that first Heat year where they lost to the Mavericks. They had some injury struggles. They didn't mesh incredibly well. They didn't get a ton of time to play together. I wonder if this is kind of almost like that, where like all the hype was there the first year. They had such high expectations. You're coming off a weird year with COVID, shortened off season. And then you go and you bring in a bunch of, like, Blake Griffin was brought on mid-season. LaMarcus Aldridge, even though he wasn't there for the playoffs because he had to retire, was brought on mid-season. It's just kind of a weird year. So maybe water finds its level next year and the Nets make it, but they're going to have to add some like key role players in the offseason to really, really make a difference. I would love to see him add some sort of beefy rim protector, kind of free up Kevin Durant on defense a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see. So speaking of, we got through the NBA past, NBA present, right? We got Clippers and Suns. That's a 2-0, like Suns are up 2-0, right? And then we have Bucks, Hawks starting tonight. We already kind of gave our predictions for the Suns. I think we all think that the Suns are going to pull out of that series. Hawks, Bucks is totally up in the air. I want each of you guys to sell me on who you think is going to win this series.
I'm going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks, and I know right now that's a pretty chalk pick because I think the NBA is banking on it. Let's just be honest. If I am Adam Silver or Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum, I am praying to the basketball gods that the Atlanta Hawks are not in the NBA Finals. The reason why, I think if they are in the NBA Finals, if you were to put up a live stream of Bob Ross painting, that would probably get more views than an Atlanta Hawks NBA Finals. No disrespect to Trae Young. I love the way he plays, but the Hawks are a young team, haven't had a ton of playoff experience with this unit. I just don't think they're a marketable team. And you can say, oh, well, they're in a big city. Yeah, they're in a big city, but they don't have someone as marketable and a global star like Giannis, the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo. I think right now, in order for the NBA to salvage ratings and keep it up, they need the Bucks in there, regardless of if the Clippers or the Suns in there. Coming out of the East, they need the Bucks, and honestly, I think the Bucks are going to get it done because Drew Holiday, I think he is going to make Trae Young struggle. These teams played 3 times in the regular season. Trae Young only played once, and he didn't have a great game. That's because Drew Holiday was on him, and I think for as long as this series goes, that will be the defensive matchup for the Bucks. He will make it hard for Trae Young. John Collins played very well against Joel Embiid and the bigs of the 76ers, but Brook Lopez, look what he did late down the stretch in Game 7. He came up big defensively. I think he will as well.
I actually completely agree with this take. I think that it's going to be the Bucks coming out of the East as well. I think the Hawks struggled. I mean, they shouldn't be here anyways. They should have been taken down by a struggling, floundering 76ers team. That's not to say that the Hawks are a bad team, but because they definitely exceeded expectations this year. And I really love Trae Young. I love the way he plays. And honestly, a part of my heart is rooting for the Hawks to win this game just because they're the underdog. I like Trae Young, what have you. But it's a different animal with the Bucks, and I have been pretty critical of Giannis. Since he's been in the league, I've always thought he was a bit overrated. Is he a good player? Yes. Is he a bit overrated? Also, yes. What I find interesting is that I completely agree with Michael on the X factor being Drew Holiday. I watch games. I'm as a Dame fan. I watch games with Dame, man, and Drew Holiday would lock Damian Lillard up. I mean, Drew Holiday goes everywhere, and he will lock up that type of guard, that type of ball-dominant shooting guard. So, no, I don't think that the Hawks are going to do it because of Drew Holiday's defense, and I think that will go unnoticed by the majority of people, but that's something that should have a light shed on it.
Yeah, and that's something that I think that's going to be key to this series is Trae Young. Like, the Bucks have to control Trae Young because there is nobody else on this Bucks team who's going to go out and beat you. And if the Bucks let Kevin Huerter beat you, the Bucks, you had a lot more problems than what I thought you did. But the Bucks are currently minus 500 to win this series. It's obviously a ton of juice on that bet. I would not bet them to win the series just because that's a lot of points to lay, but I think that it's almost the NBA and the gambling community are kind of in the same boat that they think the Bucks are going to ride. I like the Hawks' chances to take a couple games. I think they're feisty enough that they can really bring this and make the Bucks sweat a little bit. But we'll see. Game 1 tonight. If you are a gambling person, I know we have gambling content that is going to be coming to TWSN here shortly. I don't tell people how to bet their money, but I am betting my money on the Trae Young points under. Because I agree with you guys. I think Drew Holiday is really going to be able to lock him up. So
you might not tell people how to bet their money, but I will. Hammer Trae Young under points. That is my favorite bet.
Love it.
That's my favorite bet of probably this playoffs. Yeah, I think Trae Young's points are way too juiced. And Drew Holiday, I'm telling you, that guy's a menace out there on the court.
Yep, his point total is at 28.5, which he eclipsed every single game of the Sixers series with their Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Ben Simmons. Yikes. You hate to see it, boys. You hate to see it. So, where are we feeling on the finals? Who's winning it all? What's your guys' prediction? And I'm going to go first because I feel like I am very, very passionate about this. Chris Paul is going to get his ring. I think Chris Paul is going to get his ring, and I think he's going to come back in the Western Conference Finals. I think they're going to beat the Clippers in 5. I think they're going to get the Clippers in 5. I think they're going to be well rested going into the NBA Finals. I think the Hawks can take a couple of games from Milwaukee, so I think that they're not going to have nearly as much rest. And when it comes down to it, and it comes down to controlling and managing the game, nobody controls the pace of a game like Chris Paul. And it's beautiful to watch. Devin Booker is a star in this league, and he's going to be for a long time. Ayton is absolutely rising up to the potential that Phoenix hoped for and that Arizona paid for. So it'll be exciting to watch. I got the Suns over the Bucks in 6, and that is my prediction. I want to hear your guys.
Suns over Bucks in 5. I really like the Suns, and like I said, I'm not as sold on this Bucks team and Giannis as a lot of people are. I just think it's different. Like Drew Holiday's not going to be able to lock up Chris Paul and Devin Booker and all, whereas I feel like with the Hawks, it's a different story because they're so reliant on Trae Young. The Suns play so great as a team. They don't need one guy to beat you. When I watch the Suns, I watch a team that really, when I look at them, I think if I'm just looking at their roster and, their team as a whole, I'm thinking, no, they're not going to make the finals. They're not going to win the finals. But when you turn on the TV and you watch their chemistry and the way they play so hard, all the time. They take no plays off. I think this is the Suns' year. I think Chris Paul is going to get his ring that he so desperately deserves. Yeah, I completely agree with you when I say Suns are going to win, but I think they're going to do it in 5.
Ooh, that's bold. That's bold. Michael, what you got?
I see where you guys are going, but I can't get on board. I have to say, and I have to admit, I am a diehard Milwaukee Bucks fan. I have been since I am 5 years old. So I will admit, I am biased. But I also am the same person who thought the Nets were going to win the semifinal series. So I'm not afraid to pick against my team. But look, I think we got to put a little more respect on Mike Budenholzer's name. The guy coached under Greg Popovich for several years, then coached the Atlanta Hawks. In a big moment like this, as an assistant coach, he's been here. Even with the Atlanta Hawks, he made an Eastern Conference final in 2015. I think he will rise to the occasion in the NBA Finals, even though it's his first appearance. And look, he will give the keys to the car to Giannis Antetokounmpo. If I'm looking at the Suns roster, I don't think Jay Crowder is going to be a good defender on Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think he's going to struggle. Look, LeBron James did not have a great first-round series against Jay Crowder. I think Giannis will, or whoever the Suns try to match up on Giannis. And also, if Giannis is struggling, there's another guy. Chris Middleton, to me, is the closer of this team. Some people might think that their best player should be, but look, Chris Middleton, especially in mid-range, he can knock down his shots. I think this goes 7 games, and I give it to the Bucks.
Wow, that is spicy. Michael, what I want you to do is I want you to go back. I want you to clip that. I want you to put that all over the internet because that was a beautiful, beautiful little rant you just went on there. But I disagree, and I disagree. But, man, the thought of watching Devin Booker try to go and score a game-winning shot on Giannis would be like, that is just basketball nirvana. It makes you feel things. I love sports. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That would be fun to watch. That would be fun to watch. So that, I think we're all on the same page as far as the matchup we want to see. But man, I'm riding with you, Alex. I'm on the Suns. But I think we covered everything that the NBA has to offer, unless you guys got anything else. No? Nope. Cool. So we do have a little bit more basketball. Jordan Brand signed a WNBA roster. Essentially, there's 11 women that he assigned to the Jordan Brand. I personally am super excited for this as a sneakerhead. I think they're going to come out with a lot of cool colorways. It'll be really, really cool to see. And to my knowledge, it's the largest branding deal for WNBA athletes. So it should be very, very cool to see these shoes. I'm interested to see if they do go kind of with an exclusive women's line. Because I know that's been kind of lacking. And I know it went viral a couple years ago when Steph Curry released his shoes, and then a girl wrote him a letter saying, hey, you don't have any in women's sizes. So it's cool to see the shoe game adapt a little bit, because I know there are a lot of girls where I work, a lot of women who wear some J's and can rock them. So if they come out with some really cool colorways, some really cool designs, I'm really excited to see it. Are you guys sneakerheads at all? Yeah, nay?
Yeah, I'm big into sneakers, and I want to say I like the idea a lot. I like the fact, it's overdue. I think WNBA is certainly just as respected as anything else. I want to say that I don't want it to be a just women's line. Your boy wears a size 12. I know a lot of people can get women's sneakers and put them on, even though they're guys, but I need that men's line to come out. I might want some WNBA sneakers as well. Like you said, I bet you those colorways are going to be fuego. So I'm definitely wanting them to do both genders when they release.
Yeah, look, Cody, sorry to cut you off, Cody, but it's all about women's empowerment. That's so important, because if you look at the landscape of sneaker retail, there aren't too many women out there that have their own line of shoes. Serena Williams might, but don't quote me on it. But other than that, though, this is beautiful to see. And also, Jordan Brand specifically, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's 11 black women. So look, it's really important. Representation, getting people out there. and showing young girls, whether it's young women of color or just young women in general, that you too one day can be here. And also too, kind of straying away a little bit from the Jordan talk, someone like Sabrina Ionescu being in commercials, standing side by side Chris Paul. It's a beautiful thing to see, Cody.
Oh, absolutely. And I love Sabrina Ionescu because I think she is going to be the face of the WNBA for a long time. She is so incredibly talented. But speaking of women who are absolutely kicking ass in sports, Becky Hamon is the first female to make it to the final rounds of an NBA coaching search with the Portland Trail Blazers, I believe. I would love to see, I think she would do a great job up in Portland. It's not my favorite coaching position, but my favorite coaching position was just filled. And we'll talk about the Celtics head coaching decision here in a minute. But what are our thoughts on Becky Hamon finally getting some shine in these last rounds of interviews?
She deserves it because she has worked her tail off, not only as an assistant coach, but when she played for the WNBA San Antonio franchise from 2007 to 2014, she worked hand in hand with the Spurs. So it's well due. I'm not a big fan, though, of her going to Portland, not because she doesn't deserve it, because I think of Chauncey Billups and Mike D'Antoni, I would probably give her the job. But the place where I want her to take over is San Antonio when it's time for Greg Popovich to step to the side and retire. That probably would be a ways away, and I know coaching doesn't work like that. You take whatever job you can get, whatever year you can get that job. But look, if I am someone who supports Becky Hamon, I don't think that's the best situation for her. Yes, she can lead the Portland Trail Blazers to the playoffs, but they ain't winning a championship anytime soon. And there's a good chance if they continue to struggle in the postseason, Damian Lillard might be out of the door. I don't know if that's the place she wants to be. I would much rather see Becky Hamon take over for Greg Popovich because, look, I don't want to see Tim Duncan, James Borrego, Brett Brown, anyone else take over for Greg Popovich other than Becky Hamon. She deserved it. She even filled in last year when Greg Popovich was ejected. He handpicked her to fill in the rest of the game. Look, there's no other place that Becky Hamon should be the head coach of than San Antonio, Texas.
I said it earlier, I'm a huge Damian Lillard fan, so I really am tapped into this coaching search. I think he's going to end up staying at the Trailblazers just because I don't think they'll deal him because, I mean, why
he's the face of the franchise. Yeah.
Right. He's the greatest Trailblazer of all time, and some people might find that controversial, but I don't think it is at all. Becky Hamon, though, I hope she gets the job. Why not? Like, I feel like there's almost a stain on her reputation some people look at because she's a woman, and that's the only reason. There's never been a woman head coach, so maybe that's what everyone's missing. I'm fully on board with Becky Hamon being there. Now, if Dame, like you mentioned, Dame has obviously voiced some disappointment with the way the team's going. If Dame ends up leaving there, I hate it for Becky Hamon because it's almost setting her up for failure from the start.
Yeah, she's such an incredible coach, and like shout out to Pop for recognizing how talented of a coach she was and putting her in the role that she is in San Antonio because she does such an incredible job down there as an assistant. I personally, I kind of like it because it does put her in a position to at least win right away for a couple years. So I'm rooting for her personally. I'm also a big fan of Chauncey Billups growing up kind of near the Michigan area. So we'll see, but I kind of hope she gets it. I kind of hope she gets it just because I want to see what she can scheme up for Dame. Because Damian Lillard is on primetime TV is just electric to watch. You have to. But we could talk about projected coaching hires all we want. Let's talk about an actual physical coaching hire that did happen. Brad Stevens going ahead and hiring Ime Udoka as the new head coach of the Boston Celtics. He is a former Brooklyn Nets and Spurs assistant. So some tie-ins with Becky Hamon there. But what are our thoughts on Ime Udoka? I don't know enough about the guy to really make a decision here.
I'm a big fan of this. I think this is a smart hire because Ime Udoka, you mentioned it, NBA player. He's a recognizable figure. I do think there probably were a few other avenues that the Celtics could have gone. In particular, Terry Stotts was a name that was thrown out there. There were a few other names as well. Another name in the pipeline of the Nets, Jock Vaughn, I thought he would have been a quality candidate as well, but I'm not mad at Ime Udoka. Brad Stevens is at a point now where he has to rebuild his career as an executive. He's looking to get the best candidate, and also I think it helps getting an African-American candidate there. And look, Boston is a city who is not unfamiliar to black head coaches. Most recently, Doc Rivers was there. So I think this is great. It'll connect with the players as well. And I do think Ime Udoka, although the Celtics have struggled, getting Jaylen Brown back will be the most important thing. Making sure he is healthy, because if the Celtics don't have Jaylen Brown, they aren't going to do much. They might be an 8th seed next year, and I can't guarantee that. If they get Jaylen Brown, though, I think they have a shot. If I'm going to bring up the Kemba Walker situation, I do think that is a hurdle that they will have to cross, because who is really going to step up as that team's point guard? Right now, I don't know, but also it might be better than what they had with Kemba, because Kemba was very underwhelming. They get Al Horford back. So overall, I think Ime Udoka is stepping into a nice situation. Big shoes to fill in Brad Stevens. Say what you will about Brad Stevens, but he did a nice job there dating back to 2013. But Ime Udoka, I'm happy with the hire, Cody.
I'm happy with the hire as well. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know everything about Ime Udoka, because to be honest, I don't. But I'd heard his name and I knew kind of who he was before the hire. And after they hired him, I looked more into it. And overall, I really like the hire. I think Brad Stevens needed a good hire after the Rocky trade to start out, which I was not the biggest fan of earlier. But yeah, I like the hire. I think the Celtics are actually one of the more slept-on up-and-coming teams. I really like that team. I like the players they have around them. I think Jason Tatum is one of the most underrated players in the entire league. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to see how the Celtics do with their new coach.
Yeah, it'll be something to watch for sure. Boston sports have always had a spotlight on them because they have been so successful. So hopefully Ime Udoka can bring some. I know we have a lot of Celtics fans as members of TWSN here. So I think it'll be interesting to see their reactions as we get closer to the offseason and the moves that team will need to make in order to continue to contend, or attempt to contend anyway. But I think we're finally done with some NBA. And before we transition on to our next topics, for those of you listening, go ahead and subscribe to TWSN, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We put out some phenomenal content. I know that Malik has been putting in the hours and the work to hire some incredible content creators, some awesome graphic design people, and we are going to be able to see all sorts of cool stuff as we get towards football season, the NBA finals, and everything as it goes. And the Olympics are coming up. The Olympics are incredibly exciting. They are, to me, they kind of like bring me back to my youth, because I remember like it was my summer break. I would just sit down and watch every event in the Olympics. I am a big fan. I personally am a fan of track and field because I did it in high school. What are we excited to watch, fellas? What are we looking forward to the old US of A competing in?
I guess it makes sense for me to say wrestling because of my background in mixed martial arts and boxing, covering those two sports. I'm going to go with wrestling because there is a guy out there named Gable Steveson. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He probably will win gold. If I had to bet, I would go with Gable Steveson. That's how good he is. He's a junior at the University of Minnesota, an absolute stud. He is great at freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling as well. I think he is going to take over the Olympics, and he's one of those names. You may not know him now, but in August, you certainly will know his name because he's that good. And also, once he's done wrestling at the University of Minnesota, and even if he doesn't decide to wrestle again in the next Olympics, I think Gable Steveson has a career in either MMA or the WWE. Really, whatever he wants to do, he can be the next Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle type, or he can be a Daniel Cormier. Like this kid, I'm telling you right now, guys, I may be speaking gibberish about some name you might not know, but Gable Steveson, I'm telling you, this kid's going to be a star. That's why I'm so amped about the Olympics.
I just wrote it down. I don't know if you can even bet on Olympic wrestling, but if you can, I'm hammering Gable Stevens.
All right.
I love it. I love it. So there's a handful of athletes that I am super excited to watch this year. Alex, I'm gonna say one, and then I'm gonna go down to you. Personally, I am super excited for Katie Ledecky. I'm a big fan of swimming. Like, my childhood was like the Michael Phelps era of dominance, and she broke like every record at the last, or every female record at the last Olympics. Watching her compete against is like watching like high level athletes competing against like school children. She is that much better than everybody else. Incredibly dominant. So I am super excited to watch Katie Ledecky. Alex, you got anybody that you're looking forward to watching in the Olympics?
I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all and say I watch every event at the Olympics. I think they got ping pong and stuff that they play. So
it's always electric. Electric.
Yeah, I will say I'm not going to choose to watch that, but when it's on, I am so zoned in. I mean, those guys right there are maniacs. I mean, they're like Forrest Gump. But I don't think there's one certain athlete I'm rooting for. I'm just rooting for the US of A in every event, baby.
Love to see it. Love to see it. So there's two more athletes I want to touch on. Simone Biles is arguably going to go down as one of the most decorated U.S. Olympians of all time. It should be she's going to be one of those things where it's like, can she gold in every event that she's in? She is that talented. It is unbelievable. Cannot wait to watch her. And then the other, like, not just an athlete, but like an event as a whole, is skateboarding is making its debut to the Olympics. And as a probably, I would say, top 10% Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 player in the world, I'm super excited to watch some skateboarding in the Olympics. So that'll definitely be interesting, especially to see like how other countries and cultures do with skateboarding. I don't know how big it is everywhere else. So it'll be really, really exciting, but we are 1 month out from the Olympics. So it is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. Like, I was super bummed when it got postponed last year. But man, it'll be exciting. We've had a lot of good NBA talent commit to playing on Team USA. So it should be fun. I know, speaking of Celtics talk, Tatum said that he's going to play. So it'll be fun to watch. So how we feeling, boys? We want to go NFL or we want to go NHL? Let's
go NFL.
Okay. So the big news that was all over the internet, all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, everybody has been talking about it. Carl Nassib, defensive lineman of the Oakland Raiders, is the first active NFL player to come out as gay. And he made a very simple Instagram announcement, made a nice short video. The internet's reaction to it, in my mind, was actually very shocking to me. What were you guys seeing as we watched kind of a big unfortunately it's historical because like it shouldn't be like this is something that should be generally accepted in today's society, but how do we feel watching something like this kind of unfold and to see the internet actually react in like hey, congratulations, like good for you manner?
I wish we were at a point in society where this wasn't even a story. And by that, I mean, I wish it was more accepted because statistically speaking, there are over 1,500 NFL players. There's no way that Carl Nassib is the only one ever to be an active homosexual player. And you know what? I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to come out, but he had to. And the reason why, he may have saved lives. And that's so powerful to me because if a guy who is a stud defensive end like Carl Nassib, who's played for the Browns, the Buccaneers, and the Raiders, if he is able to come out, and if you're a child who is gay and you may be struggling with your own identity, you see someone like that be confident, it's empowering. And it is, that message that he sent is so powerful. And again, it saved lives. I'm sure he just saved at least one life by what he did because it showed that, look, you can still live a normal life and be gay. It doesn't matter. And I heard stories of other NFL players in the past. They knew they had gay teammates, but they didn't out them, and they didn't treat them any differently. They were part of the brotherhood. They were a part of the team, a part of the locker room. And that's what it should be. No matter what your creed, your orientation is, as long as you're committed to playing for the Raiders or the Jets or whatever team, that should matter the most. Honestly, who cares if you're gay, straight, whatever? At the end of the day, the NFL, even sports in general, it's supposed to be a sisterhood or a brotherhood. Everyone should be in tandem and on the same page.
I completely agree. I like this entire thing. Like you said, maybe one day it's not going to be a story. Like it's not really that shocking to me for some reason, because I don't know. I guess I didn't think of it as that crazy of an idea that an NFL player was gay. Like I like the way he came out about it. Like he just came out and was straight up with everyone. And I appreciate that. Like there's no reason for him to hide it. He's still an insane football player. I mean, if you're a football player, it matters not if you're straight or gay, just like anything else. Like I think people were thinking of it as more crazy because he's an NFL football player. But like Michael said, I'm sure there's many football players, statistically speaking, that just haven't spoken out about it. And yeah, for the kids that might be gay and struggling with something, now they have someone to look up to. I really appreciate what he did. It's the G move for me.
Yeah, he did, and the way he did it so casually, that had to take so much guts, man. And the courage to be able to do that in today's day and age, especially in the NFL, because I feel like NFL fandom is very archaic in the sense that like people don't necessarily root for players, but they'll root for their teams. Like I know plenty of people who like die hard, Pittsburgh Steelers fans and Cincinnati Bengals fans, and they will like root for their team to the death. And then if a player moves off of their team, see ya, they don't care, like could not care less about him anymore. So it's really cool. And I think Carl Nassib, and like just purely factual, absolutely made a ton of fans by coming out and being his true authentic self. He led the NFL in jersey sales 3 consecutive days now. There are plenty of fans who are on the LGBT or in the LGBTQ community. So I think Carl Nassib made a incredible decision, incredibly brave of him. It was very well done and really cool to see John Gruden, the Oakland Raiders, and the NFL community come out in support of one of their brothers, right? And I think had this happened 10, 15 years ago, it would not have been the same. So I'm very excited to see that we're kind of progressing a little bit as a society. TWSN put a post up of Sha'Carri Richardson, a quote, and I think it kind of applies to this too. And it says, you can be who you are and be successful. So shout out to Carl Nassib for being who he is. And I think he should have a very successful season. I don't know about the Raiders, though. Don't know if I'm feeling the Raiders are going to have a great season. But I think that's another conversation entirely as we get closer to the season. We can make our predictions. But I don't think we really have any other NFL news. I know that Matt LaFleur went out to visit Aaron Rodgers, and I guess they communicated. I don't know what that means. Haven't really heard of like anything profound coming out of that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is like, yep, I'm back in. Like, we're go Packers. But it'll be interesting. So we're going to wrap it up with the other sport that is playing for its, or soon to be playing for its championship. Hockey has been great to watch. And I don't know how big of a hockey fandom we have here at TWSN, but these games have been really incredible. Aside from the stinker that the Isles put up, the Lightning whooped them pretty bad, but there have been some awesome NHL games. The Habs have been great, which is the first time that the Habs have been great in many years. How are we? You guys watching any hockey? Does it juice you up like it juices me up? Because I know tonight I'm gonna have some beauty of having a full-time job is you put up one screen, you got the hockey one screen, one TV, you got the NBA. It's a beautiful thing, fellas. Highly recommend. Get those TV mounts going. It's great. But we watching hockey at all? How we feeling?
To be honest, I live in Mississippi, and this might surprise somebody.
It's like I ain't even seen hockey, man.
This might surprise somebody.
Oh my God.
I have literally never met someone like in person from Mississippi that is a diehard hockey fan. I know people who watch it because they bet it or they'll throw it on when nothing else is on, but I don't know a single diehard hockey fan. So do I know a lot about hockey? Absolutely not. But I do know that sometimes I'll throw it on, and it's on my bucket list to drink out of the Stanley Cup one day. So at some point,
bold bucket list item. Man,
at some point, or maybe I'll have to do like a fake one or something. But just I'll still get the feeling. But yeah, overall, go hockey, I guess.
Go hockey. I love that take, Alex. It's like, yeah, go sports. Michael, how you feeling?
I'm all in on the NHL playoffs. I'm so glad that fans are back. I think that is such an understated part of these playoffs because in the past, if you want to go to the 2019 playoffs, no one really talked about the fans because it's just like, all right, it's par for the course. They're supposed to be there. They're supposed to be energetic. But last year up in Canada, they weren't there at all, and we missed out. This year, it's made it so much better. I'm a New Jersey Devils fan because I am from New Jersey.
I'm sorry.
So thank you. I appreciate your commiserations. But look, even though my team's not in it, I'm very happy and pleased with the play so far. I want to talk briefly about the game on Monday night between the Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. If you lose 8-0, it's over. I'm sorry. Your season's over. You can't lose in a hockey game 8-0 and expect to win the Lord Stanley Cup. It's not happening. I am sorry. And it hurts for me to say that because, look, if a team from my division wins a Stanley Cup, that helps the Devils out because it draws more eyes on when the Devils play the Islanders. But you know what? I don't think it's going to happen with the Islanders. And then if I'm going to move over to the Western Conference Series, the Canadians with Suzuki, Trifoli, players like that, Carey Price in goal, they've stepped up.
So good.
Yes. The Canadians, I predicted that the Stanley Cup final would be Islanders-Canadians. I think I'm wrong on the Islanders, but the Canadians, I think I'm going to get that right because right now they're up 3-2. And I want to give a quick score update because we are live. It's 0-0 right now in the first period between the Islanders and the Lightning. So who knows how that'll go out. I think the Islanders will kind of right the ship a little bit, but it's not looking good, Cody.
Oh, man. So I am a Nashville Predators fan, and watching Marc-Andre Fleury just absolutely dominate the net in that playoff series, I think it's 2017, and then in the Stanley Cup Finals, I've just always been astounded by that guy's play, but I think Fleury's kind of at the end of his time. And I don't know if them switching goalies the other night was to rest him up a little bit, and then they put him back in. I love Fleury, but I think his time in the league as a dominant goalie anyway is coming to an end. Carey Price has just been so good. I think the Habs take that series. It'll be good to get a Canadian team back into the Stanley Cup Finals. I think when hockey is electric in Canada, it's better for the entire sport. But man, fans back in the barn is just so much better. So much better. I think fans matter to like the sport and the watchability of hockey almost more than any sport. But fellas, is there any other sports incredible news? You got any takes you want to get off your chest before we let the people go tonight?
I just want to say the Milwaukee Bucks, if they lose this series, I'm going to be one upset man because the Atlanta Hawks, no offense to them, but I just can't envision the Atlanta Hawks of all teams being in the NBA Finals. I could see the Greek Freak playing there. Trae Young, I can't. But non-sports related, though, again, I just want to thank Malik Wright, our CEO, for letting me and Alex hop on the show for this evening, kind of warm his seat. And I know Daniel's on the show as well usually. And Cody, thank you again for being such a gracious host. So much appreciated.
Yeah, same thing from me. Just love being on the show. I feel like we had a great time and a great show. That's about it from me.
Look, since you guys didn't do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. Absolutely follow Michael Daly and Alex Sagini on Twitter and Instagram, and follow or subscribe to TWSN on YouTube so you can catch more of these guys. TWSN is putting out phenomenal content day in and day out. We have writers doing incredible work, and you'll be able to see more of these guys' content at the TWSN mobile app. So go ahead and download the TWSN mobile app so you can catch more of these guys' incredible content. I am Cody at Smash Hit Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me there. Follow TWSN. And just like that, we are out.
The marathon continues. The Mamba mentality has left a mark. Shout out to the NBA legend, Kobe, and your daughter, Gigi. From Tom Brady to Drew Bledsoe. Rain, sleet, or snow, I grind. I am clutch. I am the difference maker. I am the game changer.